Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, your cosmic GPS for life, love, and everything written in the stars. We're Tali and Ophira Edut, the AstroTwins, here to decode the astrology of the moment and help you navigate your destiny like a pro.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week of June 30th to July 6th. How is it already? Another month. I feel like the weeks just keep going by so fast. Relationships of all variety are back in the spotlight. We're going to talk about that. Tali here in Seattle.
And Ophi in New York.
And this week's transits are, well, they're a little all over the place. We have a balancing Libra quarter moon on Wednesday, July 2nd. And then Friday, July 4th is really a charged update. Yeah, but not just because the one huge horrible bill is on deck for a vote, but Venus is going to be conjunct Uranus that day in Taurus. So that's like this peace and harmony and radical energy all coming together. And then Venus moves on to Gemini. It's our very last week of Uranus and Taurus. Neptune, the planet of compassion, is going retrograde on Friday. So lots of
fireworks of their own variety, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, Venus and Taurus. Venus has been in Taurus for a few weeks now, and relationships really are kind of hitting an interesting stride, an interesting cycle right now. We had the very ostentatious Venetian wedding of Lauren Sanchez, who's a late stage Sagittarius. We'd like to give her to the Capricorns, but she's December 19th. And Capricorn, Jeff Bezos, they took over the entire city of Venice, much to the residents' chagrin, and basically invited a parade of celebrities. It was like the opposite of any, Aquarian event. It was so Leo, which is Aquarius's opposite side. It was like, who wasn't there? Well, we weren't, but
yeah, I mean, it was so, Uranus is at 29 degrees Taurus, finishing up a long cycle. And actually, we're going to talk about that because we pulled out our 2018 horoscope book. If you're watching, you can see the cover to look at the predictions we made about this 8-year cycle back when we wrote this in 2017.
Yeah, we're going to
go
read
over a couple of those to
do
a little blast from the past. But Uranus is progress and also rebellion, and Taurus is an earth sign. So climate has become such a huge issue in this 2018 to 2025 period like never before. And to have Jeff Bezos, who has the Bezos Earth Fund, and all these climate activists like Leonardo DiCaprio, going on these private jets and, just doing ostentatious planet harming things is what sparked so much protest and disappointment and anger from people around the world who maybe have supported the Bezos Earth Fund, but are, already he's on thin ice because of what Amazon does, whether he's there or not, no taxes and all
his support of Trump and just whatever he's trying to leverage.
Yeah. So it was
showing up for their wedding was kind of like showing up for Trump's inauguration. It's just like, did you now? I mean, right. Oprah, I get it. Gail was on Blue Origin, which, I mean, he's already off to Mars. He doesn't care about Earth anymore, And I was, taking a look at Lauren Sanchez's chart and Jeff Bezos's. Her Jupiter is at 0 degrees Scorpio. So there's this like desire to like flaunt power and wealth and, incite envy and jealousy in this very
She's a rooster. The
way.
female rooster is
and Moon in Taurus or
male.
Aries. I don't know. It could be, we don't know her birth time. It's either Aries or Taurus, which either one tracks. She seems very like, everything I read about her is like, she's got so much energy, and that feels
But she is a Sag. It does feel Aries moon. But regardless, like, she's disappointing
fun.
once again. People who could be stepping up into leadership couldn't miss this wedding of the so-called century, and just like, aren't we done with this? But I guess we're not. Anyway,
I mean, I think it's not to heart, because people deserve, fine, have a great wedding, celebrate life, but it's just, it's the wealth gap being what it is, and the loss of, there's wars raging, there's so much loss, and so many people who are struggling right now, and the threat of this bill, like, do they know this was going to happen when they planned the date? I'm sure they didn't, but it's just another thing that's going to push the pendulum swing towards justice and equity, possibly already this week with the Libra quarter moon. We'll get
going
into that.
Gemini. I mean, Gemini is that split. It's that duality. So while it is relationships, it's, the 1% and the 99% are fragmenting more. And I feel like this wedding was kind of a showcase of how that's happening. So, but let's talk about Uranus and Taurus.
Let's talk about
there was one other couple, only half of which, and not the Blue Origin half, was there too. Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom. She is a triple Scorpio. He's a Capricorn. Not the most romantic and fiery pairing of sun
signs. They both have
signs.
Scorpio moons.
Oh yeah, that's
Katy
right,
and Orlando Bloom, which we were trying. I mean, they're such an odd couple, but
yeah, I never really saw that couple so much. But whatever, they've got a daughter, and supposedly are amicably gonna co-parent. So
that's good.
Yeah, so
Daisy Dove doesn't need to suffer
Daisy
from this.
Dove. Well, here is our 2018 horoscope book, where we talked about Uranus and Taurus. The economy and tradition get an overhaul as Uranus enters Taurus from May 15th, 2018 to April 26th, 2026. Yes, it is going to come back to Taurus. We're getting a sneak preview starting on July 7th. You'll hear all about it on next week's podcast.
July 7th to November 7th, Uranus pendulum swings into Gemini. And then on November 7th, it goes back to Taurus one last time until April 25th of 2026. But this move into Gemini is a big deal because it hasn't happened since 1941 to 1949. So we're getting a little preview, and just to set it up a little so people know why we're celebrating this end of Uranus and Taurus. Uranus is in fall in Taurus. It's
a difficult cycle, and we talked about how Uranus focuses on the future while Taurus clings to the past. During this utterly awkward transit, we could all come down with a head-spinning new brand of Bieber fever, trying to buck the system and benefit from it at the same time. We mentioned Justin Bieber after age 21, like acting like a rebel, but hanging with the Kardashians, which I guess is what he was doing then.
And he's back to
he's going out
doing
the same way he came in,
Molly at clubs, and being like, oh,
being all up on some other women. I know.
Totally.
Okay, somebody save Justin. We were talking about how Uranus and Aries had just ended. During this era, we saw the Arab Spring occupy Wall Street, the Black Lives Matter movement, and marriage equality in the Women's March. So we had just come out of that. And our predictions for Uranus and Taurus were that farming and the food supply, that there would be major changes ahead. We talked about 3D printed food and and looking at
vertical farming is a big thing people are looking at, and that's something we predicted for Uranus and Gemini, which rules cities, that some of these buildings that have been emptied out with glass, if they've southern exposure, And big, huge, they could be turned into indoor, like giant food production greenhouses with stacks of,
Yeah, all the innovation of Uranus and the earthiness of Taurus have come together in these 8 years. So this is funny. This almost reads like duh now, but it was a radical thing. I remember even thinking, should we or shouldn't we say this? The end of money. The end of money, the rise of
being like, what are you talking about when you suggested that?
Taurus rules money, and with technological Uranus here, dollars could go digital. Amazon is already testing a new cashless technologies. Customers enter a brick and mortar store with a mobile app that adds items to a virtual cart as they shop. Of course, this has an economic downside, as unskilled human labor will be replaced by robots and algorithms.
Wow,
a New Zealand company called Soul Machines is already marketing its digital humans, robots imbued with emotional intelligence, quote unquote, that can replace living, breathing customer service assistant. You probably won't miss the shop girl who follows you to the dressing room and coos about how adorable an ill-fitting item looks. But the alternative's a little sci-fi freaky too.
Thank God that one didn't happen, but it could in this next.
Well, I remember they were rolling out these digital humans. There was this one named Sophie who was at like CES or one of those conferences.
Well, when you're in LA, there's like these little boop, 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 robots that deliver groceries and things and packages, and drones are coming,
We talked about how there were economic makeovers the last time that the U.S. spent the entire last Uranus and Taurus transit climbing out of the Great Depression, which ended in 1941, right as Uranus departed from Taurus. President Roosevelt also signed the U.S. Social Security Act, providing unemployment compensation and pensions for the elderly. And we see, this go around Medicaid and affordable health care are up for Uranus-style reform. Okay.
What the hell?
Wow, I haven't read this. So,
I mean, my God, please let it. I mean, it's so crazy that the last time Uranus transited from Taurus to Gemini, these social programs were put in place, and now at this 29 degree, they're on the chopping block potentially. Like,
yeah. Yep.
Wow.
I mean, and we're looking at stable coins now becoming a digital currency, which is not a non-decentralized version of cryptocurrency that would be backed by an actual fiat currency or asset, so hard asset like gold. So digital dollars are coming. Here's another one. From selfies to self-sufficiency, using technology for practical gain. Was a death to the cubicle? Hello, hi, yeah. With indie-spirited Uranus and hardworking Taurus, the gig economy will grow even bigger. More people will work remotely and in co-working spaces, and the full-time employment model will continue to go the way of the dinosaurs.
Wow.
Okay.
And this was before, mind you, 2018.
Yeah, I wrote this in the summer of 2017.
Pre-Zoom culture. Wild.
The rise of populism and dictatorship. The worst manifestations of Uranus and Taurus can be bigotry, stubbornness, and warmongering. Adolf Hitler, a Taurus, seized power just as Uranus was ending its last transit of Aries. And now, mind you, Uranus was ending its last transit of Aries for us in 2016 into 28 and 2017 into 2018. So no comment, do the math. And he retained his dictatorial grip through the 1930s while Uranus was in Taurus. Mussolini also came into power during this last Uranus and Taurus transit, spreading fascism. As we enter the same cycle 84 years later, extreme right-wing candidates are once again on the rise, spinning propaganda through social media, slanted news outlets, populist rallies, and cyber hacking. Okay.
Let's talk about Viktor Orban, but how there was this huge, amazing. Yeah. Oh, he's a Gemini. Well, the Budapest Pride was like overflowing with people. There's all these incredible drone pictures. Yeah. Like so many people. And happy Pride, everyone. Happy last weekend of Pride in Seattle Everyone's out celebrating.
New York too.
But yeah, there has been such a rise of autocrats. I'm actually looking at what was, a few historical things that were going on that year, and Me Too movement. There was a Parkland school shooting. The 2018 midterm elections brought record number of, remember, it was like the clapback. It brought in like more female senators than any other time in history, including the first Muslim woman, the first, and the Democrats regained control of the House then. Yeah, record number of women in Congress, and the first Native American woman. Yep.
Wow.
The royal wedding of Harry and Meghan. What a different time it was.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Now we have the royal wedding of, Jeff and
Bezos.
Lauren.
I mean, that's so Uranus, it's so Pluto and Aquarius, these
and Uranus and
tech
Taurus
celebrities too, and Uranus and Taurus too, the tech wealth. It's just, yeah. The last we said that digital devices would become one with everyday household objects. There'd be a digital revolution in arts and music. And then here, the space race heats up. Earth to Taurus, do you copy? Uranus rules space travel. And interestingly, the Mars One project was founded just as Uranus entered Aries, which is ruled by Mars. With Uranus and Taurus, we may find our inner Matt Damon and start the first attempts to build and farm in space. Who knows? In 2026, Uranus moves into Gemini, the ruler of neighborhoods and transportation. Maybe we'll pave the way for Earth's first interplanetary settlers.
Wow.
Eek. Will that be happening in these 8 years of Uranus and Gemini?
Was that year, there was the SpaceX Falcon launch, but now SpaceX is not having much success with launches or anything at all, thanks to, Elon Musk has gone underground with Jupiter and Cancer, but I fear
I'm sure he's
doing.
Working on something else. I'm sure he's working on just his whatever, saving his job and his robo taxis or whatever else. He went away from Trump, but not away from all of us.
So I mean, honestly, this is an interesting pivot point. We have definitely, I mean, no one was using Apple Pay and Venmo like they are now, or, Cash App back in 2018. So next week, we'll give you more of our predictions for what's coming with Uranus in Gemini, this new cycle. But this week, expect to see some developments happening, maybe close to home. So, we're picking up again on Zoom. Riverside is having problems today, so now you get a whole new view of our spaces, and I kind of like this one better, I'm going to be honest. No shade to Riverside.
We're talking about technology and our technology field. Is this a sign of things to come? Speaking of Jupiter and Cancer, I saw Tom Cruise, who has a birthday this week. I think he turned 63, in Mission Impossible last night. I just, wasn't my top choice, but I actually admit I enjoyed it. And it was all about like him saving the world from an AI takeover called the Entity. So have to admit I did enjoy. I think I had about 1,000 heart attacks from all the adrenaline of it, and but it was fun. It was actually fun and an escape. So
we need those right now. We really
the Cancers, they could be having a moment this year, and Tom Cruise, not as hot as he once was, and never mind all the personal stuff about him that makes him not hot, but a couple moments of hottiness, I have to admit.
I mean, these relationship vibes are coming back. I actually listened to a hilarious, I think it was in New York Magazine. It was narrated essay that Candace Bushnell wrote about what it's like to date as a woman in her 60s. And oh my God, I was dying.
She's born
laughing.
The day before us, a Sagittarius. I was like, oh my God.
And she's, she writes you could hear the classic Sex in the City in the way she writes it. It's just like uptown. Meanwhile, uptown, I gotta admit, I'm gonna just say that this season's and just like that is really so much better. I'm like,
They got it
it's like,
right. They
yeah,
went Emily in Paris.
they just, I mean, it's got it's age appropriate for them. It's not trying to pretend that they're like in their 20s, aside from some of Carrie's outfits, but we are not mad at her for that at all.
But it's not just about menopause
It's
either.
not, it's just, but it resonates, it tracks, it's funny, it's relatable, and they're not as just, I mean, sure, we all wish we had that Gramercy Park apartment, but yeah, I'm not hate watching it this year. I'm like, oh,
I mean,
welcome back.
Uranus and Gemini is definitely going to revolutionize all forms of relationships and twosomes. And speaking of Uranus, let's talk about human design because
I thought you were going to say,
on
let's talk about Uranus. No, let's talk
now
about
let's talk about
your.
yours. No, let's not talk about either of ours or yours. It's just one of those. It's that planet. There's no good way to say it.
Yeah,
So I'm
oh
going with the
God.
snooty version, Uranus.
Hmm.
And Uranus is related to human design, which we call astrology on steroids. Some of you guys enjoyed a podcast we did about a month and a half ago with Erin Claire Jones from Human Design Blueprint. She was our very first introduction to human design. If you've heard of it, you may have heard people talking about, I'm a generator, I'm a manifesting generator, I'm a projector. Well, what the hell does that actually mean? And some of you guys are like deep down the rabbit hole of human design. I think it pairs awesomely with Western astrology. And it's actually astrology mixed with I Ching and the chakras and the Kabbalah system. So we have been, as we've mentioned a few times, down the human design rabbit hole all spring. And Erin Claire Jones is giving a free human design workshop this July 1st on Tuesday. So you're invited, and we are dropping the link in the show notes to sign up. It's called Permission Granted. It's at 7:30 Eastern. And it's what is human design and how can you use it in a practical way? Because I have to admit, there's only 5 types. And sometimes it's a really nice shorthand for people who feel like they want something besides just their zodiac sign. It's really based on her book is called How Do You Choose? And I think that's a great title because human design is one of the tools that allows people to make decisions that are aligned with their own inner authority. So sign up, it's free. Can join Erin, learn about human design, and add another tool to your toolbox. Or if you're already into human design, learn how to apply it. So
Let's
that
tell
is
them what the
going on.
5 types are because I know they're wondering. There's generators, which we are. We're the worker bees. We're the most common. Manifesting generators, who are generators plus. They're
Multi
always,
hyphenates. They're always
yeah,
doing a million. Yeah, there's the
selling everything. SEMA.
projectors. My daughter's a projector. They are the ones that were the newest type that came in with the discovery of Uranus. They are our guides and kind of the birds on a wire, as one of our friends, Stacy Cordova, says. She's a human design expert too.
The
And
manifestors they supposedly have this abrasive, off putting aura, but I'm telling you, they come up with the best freaking ideas. They're here. Everybody has a strategy and they're here to inform, but they can be kind of know it all. So can manifesting generators, but you're glad they told you, anyways. And then reflectors are like the most rare, right? So
yeah,
it's
they're they kind of become whoever they're around, so they need an entire moon cycle to think through a decision according to human design.
Yeah,
So
so your type is, tells you how to make decisions. For us, it's, waiting to respond, right? Like we have to
yeah,
wait for our gut as generators. So it's
sacral
fascinating.
generators. Yeah, so Erin, she has a whole course. You can get your own like printable report made with her. So when you go to the
I love
link,
mine. Yeah.
grab your free seat, and you'll see how to do that as well. And you can use her free tool to see what your human design type is. And
It's
we're cooking up a few things TBD on this topic. So, but for
because
now,
yeah, we want to,
yeah.
we've got the overlap of astrology and human design is something that not a lot of people talk about. So we had to go crack the code
We had
on
to go
it.
crack the code on how is and isn't this like the astrology that we do. So, if you're an astrology person who dips your toe into human design and then goes like, okay, too much. What the hell am I looking at here? Stay tuned. We're going to have something for you that we will be telling you about soon. So let's
Okay,
get back
just
to the
yeah.
stars. But first, we have to ask you if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, subscribe, and share. As all podcast hosts tell you, and they're not lying, it gets the word out there. It helps us keep doing this for you. And we have just been meeting such amazing people who've been doing chart readings or writing to us, who've been listening to the podcast. So we want more people like you in our world. So please share with your friends if you hear something that is relevant. And if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe and like and all those things that you can
Or
hit
any
thumbs up.
platform you're on. Yeah, if you
Yeah,
know
that's true.
somebody, if you know someone who's been freaking out about the world and would appreciate having some cosmic support and guidance and understanding of why the hell this is all happening, maybe, or just, loves astrology, please share this with them. We would appreciate it so damn
Yes,
much. Well,
absolutely.
that Libra quarter moon, let's
Yeah,
get
let's get
into
to
that.
Wednesday, July 2nd. The quarter moon is the moon phase between the new moon and the full moon. So on June 25th, we had the Cancer new moon. Next week, we have the Capricorn full moon. So Cancer is the heart, Capricorn is the head. And in between those two is the Libra quarter moon, the balance, the pendulum. And oh boy,
It's a
what a
sign of
week to have that.
justice. It's a sign of justice, and I feel that it's really interesting that this is falling the week that there's going to be this vote on this, like the one huge horrible bill that Trump is trying to push forward that has so many awful cuts to social services. It's really going to impact people who aren't in the billionaire class, who aren't corporatists. Everyday people are going to really hurt from this in terms of just everything from, their Medicaid to child care to, school lunches,
Healthcare,
health.
everything.
It's just,
So many protections for the democracy we thought we lived in and that we took for granted, if we're being honest, are on the table. And it cleared a hurdle with the Senate at this recording. So this Libra quarter moon is very important. This is a moment of reckoning. And listen, next week we've got Uranus and Gemini and Neptune and Aries together. Last time they were both in those signs was during the US Civil War. We're not saying there's going to be another civil war, but we're kind of in one. There is so many uprisings, so much divisiveness. And speaking of that and Libras for this week, you know, the big thing here in New York and everywhere else is a mayoral race and the big upset of the status quo by Zoran Mamdani. And he is a Libra, as it turns out. We have a lot of Libras showing up. Gavin Newsom, AOC, Zoran, John Ossoff. There are a lot of Libras in politics. There's also Netanyahu and Putin are both Libras too.
Kamala.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and the establishment. We've got some Libras there, and so they are going to be key players that we're going to be hearing from. And at this quarter moon, I mean, what do the people want?
What does justice look like? The Supreme Court, made some kind of, vague, frightening, hard to understand decisions. There was kind of a, Amy Coney Barrett, who's an Aquarius, came for Virgo, Katanji, Brown Jackson, trying to kind of silence her. It was just, will this Libra quarter moon balance things out? I think there will be, challenges left and right. We're just going to, the legal system is just, in an uproar, and it's going to continue to be that way as, I think this is kind of the aftermath of the South Node in Libra from last year. And, I saw an interesting presidential biographer, and a couple people shared this with us on Instagram. So thank you. John Meacham was on the Daily Show, and he actually talked about a pendulum. So anytime, we've named this year the year of the divine pendulum. So you guys love to send us relevant pendulum posts. So thank you. But he was saying that, the pendulum has swung so far to the right now with the Christian nationalists and Trump. It's not going to, when a pendulum gains that momentum, it doesn't just like settle to the middle. It's like a swing, when you're a kid, someone pulls the swing way back and all of a sudden you go way forward. So he was saying, well, this is setting us up for an AOC president, and
well,
AOC,
Jupiter is going to be in Libra at the next
so we were saying
2028. So, it was in Gemini when Trump, who's a Gemini, won, and now it'll be in Libra at the next election. And we have these Libras who are rising in power. Listen, Pluto is an Aquarius. That is democratic socialism. I hate to say it, but it can be. Pluto's maybe
I don't hate to say it, but I think
I don't hate to say it either. But I'm just people. I mean, Pluto is exposing what's been hidden, what's been concealed. It's excavating energy, and Aquarius is the people. And Zoran Mamdani went around and talked to a bunch of people. I mean, if this wasn't Gemini, like who the hell's team is anyone on anymore? There was a clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a Gemini, talking to Taurus Tucker Carlson, the two Uranian signs, and they seemed to actually be supporting Zoran Mamdani. They were saying how all these different candidates were asked where they wanted to go on vacation, and he was the only one who said, I don't want to go on vacation. I want to stay in New York and speak to the people that I'm representing. So whatever the case, is Libra with an Aquarius moon. Right answer to give.
A stellium in Capricorn in his 6th house of service too. And I do think Uranus going into Gemini is going to put that focus on cities more too. Gemini kind of rules the local environment and the revolution of the way cities are run in a more power to the people way. Pluto and Uranus are going to be trining each other, and that's very rare.
Yeah, we have that.
They're working
really
together.
Exciting, all the way through 2028. We're going to be sharing about that soon. There's 5 exact trines between them. One very special one coming up in a couple years too.
Where he stands on Israel and Palestine.
Well, I was going to say that's very
stir too.
That's very Gemini, because the 2-state solution, Israel, Gaza, etc., is very Gemini. And Taurus really does govern the whole Middle East. Israel is a Taurus-ruled country, and it's become the dividing line for so many people, which is, we don't even want to touch that for so many reasons. You can't not touch it, but there's just so much divisiveness in the Middle East and everywhere else. It's horrible. We are coexistence girls. We grew up in Detroit, as we've shared, as Jews with an Israeli father, where we had the largest Arab population outside of the Middle East. So what our upbringing was togetherness, not
Yeah, we're really,
divisiveness.
I mean, it's like what an incarnation, and feel so fortunate about that. I mean, I was talking to our cousin in Israel, and he showed me the view from his balcony. He's 10 minutes away from Gaza, and everything is leveled, everything's down. And I could just see it with my own eyes. And half of our family there thinks that's how it should be, and the other half is protesting every week. And there's such a complicated, I will say every word is going to count. So many Jews don't agree with the politics of Israel, just like so many
Well, what I tell people is
Americans
like,
don't agree with the politics in
imagine
the United
if,
States. Yeah.
yeah, imagine if Americans and America were thought of as one and the same. And that's what is really alarming during this Pluto and Aquarius era that we're in for 20 years. We're in the beginning of it. So this is the hard part, the most challenging, shadowy part is that, you know, Israelis and Israel are not the same. Like nations and nationalism and the people in those countries, like,
And yet
who are,
we are being called, I think, with Uranus and Gemini, to adopt a new kind of civic responsibility, because we are going to be looped in with our countries and our cultures as ethno states continue seem to strengthen weirdly right now. Um, it's, which is interesting because Aquarius is just so not
I think
religious.
that's Uranus and Taurus too, that
Maybe it's the
zealotry that came along too. So
Yeah, I mean, we're humanists, and it's hard to hold that space, but like, while there's a lot of trauma in the Middle East from both on every side, people have been traumatized by religious right-wing governments, by,
yeah, by
their
their
own
own leadership,
genocides, by their own leadership, by outside leadership, by
attacks. Yeah.
autocrats and war and the blurring of church and state in every single country there, whether it's a Jewish or Muslim country. So there's a lot of trauma that Americans have not, at least until this point, had to live through or understand. But we're all seeing human rights, our hearts, feel human right violation. And so how does even one choose
How do you
a
process that as a
side when,
soul?
yeah.
This is why I'm so glad, that's why we often recommend Dolores Cannon's books about the three waves of volunteers and like the mission of your soul. Who were you in your past lives? What did you come here to do? Why did you come in as the person, the culture, etc., that you are? I mean, those are the kind of questions that are also worth looking at too. What is your responsibility? You don't want to be like, well, my soul is this, so it's not my fault. But anyway, it's never been more complicated. And I'm hopeful that Mamdani can actually make some changes in New York if he's elected. I mean, I hope that he does ally himself, as I know he's going around trying to do, from what I hear, with every community, including the Jewish community, and shows us what the best of Libra is. I know that people are trying to set him up. It's terrible. I don't, I
It's
don't
so
know.
hard because our community is just 1 to 2 generations out from our own genocide. So there's this real protective energy, and rightfully so. It's, anti-Semitism still exists around the world, and there are many people, including for our own father and our grandparents, for whom Israel was the only place they could escape to. And now it's something different. The world has, but it's not been long since then. And can we humans please just create a safe space for one group without violating another. That would be my wish for this new
Right.
era.
Without taking someone's
Look what we
land.
did in the United States here to the indigenous people. I mean, it's
Well, at the end of the day, yes, wherever you are in the United States, you're on someone's indigenous land. And it's just okay. What do we do now? What do we do now?
and
And I
there's a real
think that that's
opportunity to start looking at that as
where do
Uranus
we go
moves
from
out of this
here?
land grabbing conservative position of Taurus that it's been in and moves into an air sign and flows into this intellectual, innovative new position and trines Pluto also in Aquarius. I think we're going to start to feel, because it has felt like Pluto in Aquarius. Wow, it just feels like, well, that it just gave us these technocrat robber barons, but maybe we're going
Mm-hmm.
to start to actually see something. And Mamdani to me is indicative of the people's voice being heard, no matter what your position is on, Israel, Palestine. And, I feel like he is focused on the local politics of New York City in a way that we haven't seen a genuine connection with people in a city.
Yeah.
That's not something Gavin Newsom can boast. He's known for
Or
being very
Karen
elite.
Bass, who's also a
Mhm.
Libra. Yeah, he went around and did what everyone needed to do, talk to people. Now we saw Kamala do that too, but she didn't translate that into her politics. And maybe it's
She didn't have
because
enough
she didn't
time,
have enough
really.
time to do that. It's like, but he's Gen Z, he's 33 or 34, like he's a Cancer South node like we
Okay.
do. I'm like, okay, let's see what he's got. And
Let's
I
bring this all
love
full circle to what we were talking about earlier. His mother is Meera Nair, who's an Indian filmmaker. And back when we were in college, she had a movie that she made that was made it to the big screen called Mississippi Masala. Denzel Washington was in it, and his love interest is
Sarita Chowdhury, who's on and just like that.
AKA Seema, the Samantha 2.0 of
I
I'm Just
remember
Like
going to
That.
see
Yeah.
that movie like in our early 20s or mid 20s with friends at like one of the Angelica or indie film theaters. And it was like, oh, a movie about a Black and Indian interracial love
It's a good
story.
movie.
It's
I
really
mean, it
good.
was
Yeah.
back. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
that's Zoran's mom. So what's going on
Yeah,
here, people?
exactly. Yeah. So I'm just like, he is like an emblem or an avatar of what the divine pendulum is about. And the fact that he showed up with this surprise win during the divine pendulum summer is not a mistake. So um, we just continue to try to observe and be as neutral as we possibly can, but also informed. I love Don Lemon. Tali, we love
God,
him. He's a
so much.
Pisces fire horse. So next year he's probably going to really rise up in the year of the horse. But he said something great on one of his YouTubes recently. He was kind of going off about single issue voters. Like he's like, voting for someone is like taking public transportation. He's like, you can't, the bus or the subway is not going to drop you off at your house, at your front door. It's going to drop you off at the closest place. So you vote for the person that is going to get you the closest to home. Because if you don't, or if you're like, I'm not voting because they don't drop me off at my doorstep with the subway, you're going to end up at a subway stop you don't want to be at.
That's
So
really
I was like,
smart. I like
very
that.
good point. Very good point. So let's talk about the 4th of July
Yeah.
because, like we said, there's some fireworks there. I've got Venus and Uranus meeting up. Venus, the planet of
29
peace.
degrees Taurus, that anoretic degree, that last karmic degree. So
With Uranus, yeah, which is all
I'm
about
I don't want to play
surprises.
Katy Perry's fireworks this year unless you're looking for your amicable, maybe unconscious coupling, but that's okay.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's had its moment, but I mean, Venus, Uranus, and Taurus can be a time when you're really honest with a person that you're
Yeah.
dating, or Taurus is very physical. So if you're, like Celine Dion, when you touch me like that, it doesn't really work for me. Or, a little more of that. We may see a little bit of that refreshing but shocking candor in some relationships. And later in the day, Venus moves into Gemini.
July
So
4th to 30th.
July 4th through 30th, Gemini is the sign of the twins, but it's not clones, it's mirroring, it's, two halves of a whole. So we're going to see Venus is, hopefully that can bring peace to divided sides or compromise. So maybe just in time for this bill, I don't know, because Neptune also turns retrograde that day. And Neptune is illusions, fantasy, hidden things. It's in Aries. It's been in Aries since March 30th. It's first time since the Civil War era, since 1875. It's going to go retrograde in Aries until October 22nd, and then it's going to finish its retrograde in Pisces on December 10th. It's wrapping up its final visit to Pisces between October 22nd and January 26th of next year. So we have our last Neptune in Pisces stand. That's started 2011, 2012. And so one last version of that, one last chance before it goes away for another 165 years or so. But Neptune retrograde in Aries over the summer from July 4th to October 22nd. That could go either way. It could be
I feel like the Friday, though, the fact that this is coinciding with the vote, it's like Neptune
yeah.
ruling illusions. Like, best case scenario is that there's a break, like Venus, Uranus, like
Well, the
people like
Supreme Court
break
does go on
away.
break till October, which is kind of interesting for
Interesting.
the whole Neptune retrograde
Oh, in
um,
Aries.
in
So that
Aries.
people won't be able to bring things to them. But no, I'm
I
just
think they
saying like
still
a
have to do
Friday
their.
with the vote that maybe, people Venus and Gemini, which can be a little duplicitous too, and Neptune kind of stationing retrograde, meaning it'll be like a little stuck. Like people might
Have
vote in
second
ways that are
thoughts.
surprising or like betray the party, the Republican Party.
I
And
think of like when the outer planets, which I mean, really when like the slow outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto go retrograde, they're retrograde for 4 to 5 months, Saturn too, Jupiter. So it's almost like sometimes it's actually like a good thing. It's
yeah, you
like
get a break
Neptune is
from
very
it.
foggy and it almost rolls back the fog when it goes retrograde. So if people have been like anger and steeped in this Aries outrage, and Neptune recedes, then they may metabolize their anger differently. Or we're going to see even more protests next
I
week
mean, I hate
too
just
with
the worst
Uranus
case
and
scenario.
Gemini.
Yeah, worst
Yeah, there's
case
always a
scenario,
worst case scenario.
cities could burn, cities could riot, it could be.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be the Neptune also puts this veneer or this fog or this fluff, this kind of like almost like a muffling effect. So with Neptune retrograde, also people's compassion or people's denial will probably roll back too. So you can kind of also expect that they're, if things aren't voted on in a way that doesn't hurt the people, that you're gonna see those uprisings next week for sure.
Well,
So
hopefully we'll see some people step into their their leadership in an honorable way. It is cardinal high season. We've got the sun and Jupiter. Last week they just met up for the Day of Miracles in Cancer. And we've got Saturn and Neptune in Aries. We've got that quarter moon in Libra. So cardinal energy is, very it's self-sovereign. It moves towards the future.
Its highest expression is leadership, and people who are like self-determined, don't care they're not pandering to anyone. It was funny. Angela Bassett was playing the president in Mission Impossible, and she was I was like, I wish. But
Isn't she a Leo or is she a
she's
Scorpio?
a Leo.
Okay.
She's a Leo. Yeah. She's this very like, I'm the commander in chief. And I was like, God, what I wouldn't do for a woman like that to be running this country. But she was very like, I'm not going to press the button or whatever. Not going to ruin the movie for anyone who's going to see it. But she made up her own mind, let's just say. And I think that maybe Neptune, the best case scenario of Neptune retrograde in Aries is that people stop being afraid to come out and use their voices and individuate, which is Aries energy. They stop being Neptune sheep and cowardly and really step up. The worst case scenario is that they don't, and that the people have to take up the mantle of anger that Neptune and Aries can provoke. So we're just going to keep putting really powerful energy out there of hope for the best for the American people and democracy and the world and all the divided, war-torn countries. I said it a couple weeks ago when Tali was sick and I did the podcast myself, that the word of the week I was choosing was humanity. I'm going to make that the word of the year. Like, let's, at the end of the day, remember our shared humanity. That's probably why, or one of the reasons why you, if you're listening, are drawn to astrology, because astrology allows us to connect as humans, have differences, but have those differences be complementary and part of a greater good.
That's why understanding both your birth chart and your human design chart is so fundamental. The human design chart has two charts. One is your regular birth chart, and the other one is your design chart, which was 88 days before you were born. So in human design, there's the belief that the soul comes into the body 88 days before you're born, which is essentially 3 months prior. So if you're a cardinal sign, it was still a cardinal sign. Our design birthday is on September 6th.
5th or 6th.
5th or 6th. Yeah. So anyway.
So we're Virgos in human design, but that's, again, a little teaser. For now, make sure that you sign up if you're interested in human design for Erin Claire Jones' free workshop on July 1st. Permission granted. Human design extravaganza palooza for 2 hours.
It's gonna be so good.
And we've got the link here in the show notes. And then if you want an astrology chart reading with us, I think we have some openings in August. That's our first availability. So get on there. It's filling up, and we're going to
book yourself one in September, so that when you're back from summer vacation, you make sure you're on our calendars. We're booking about month and a half, 2 months out now. So if this is something you want to do, get yourself set up. We'll make a plan for the rest of your year. And one more exciting announcement. We talked about this last week too. We are going to be in our home city of Detroit, July 18th and July 20th for 2 events for Detroit Book Fest. We're going to be doing a workshop. So the paperback version of our Astrology Advantage book is coming out right around then. So we're celebrating it with Book Fest, and where better than in our amazing home city. So we're going to be speaking a free event at the Detroit Public Library, which is a gorgeous building, and right across from the Detroit Institute of Arts, with this incredible Diego Rivera mural that was painted by him. So you can do both, but come see us. We're going to be teaching you how to optimize your life with astrology using our I am system and really getting into it. And then we will be at Eastern Market on Sunday, one of the biggest outdoor farmers markets, public markets.
We're going to have books. We're going to have some new merch that, we're going to debut there. And
some friends doing readings too. So you can come get a reading, come meet us.
Say hi. We'd love to. So wishing you a safe week. If you're in the United States, stay safe over the weekend with all these retrogrades and changes happening on July 4th. May Independence
try not to blow up your relationship.
That's right.
Venus, unless you need to,
True Independence Day. Yeah. And all right. We will see you next week.
See you next week.
Happy July.
Happy July, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to AstroTwins Radio. If today's episode gave you an aha moment, we'd be over the moon if you left us a 5-star review. It helps fellow astrology lovers find us. And make sure to hit subscribe and follow us on iTunes and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Want the full visual experience? You can also watch the video version on our YouTube at AstroTwins-TV. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at AstroTwins and head over to astrostyle.com to read your free daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope that we write for you with love. Until next time, move with intention and let the universe meet you there.